Hello viewers, welcome to the YouTube channel of Chananda Cultural Society. So today we have for a panel discussion on Ascended Masters teaching, we have with us Mr. Jaspal Soni, Miss Lois Drake and Mr. Jay Thukral. Miss Lois Drake has come all the way from Los Angeles, California to be a part of this discussion. Thank you so much Lois. And Lois has been in the teaching for over 35 years now. Mr. Soni, as you all know, has been into the teaching for over 45 years now, and he is also the founder president of the Chananda Cultural Society. So Jay, we have a new face today, and he is comparatively new to the teachings. He joined in 2017. So today each one of them will be talking to us about Ascended Masters teachings and how they helped them in their lives. Welcome everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.
So I'll begin in the beginning. The very first question that I want to ask you guys is how did you enter into the teachings? How did you get to know about it? And how did the teachings help you in your life, in your daily life? Sir, would you like to begin with that?
Yeah, thank you, Rajkumari ji. That was a story way back in when I went to America to study, and I finished my degree. I was looking for a job, so I got a job, and but in my heart there was something burning question that why, what is the inner purpose of life? I mean, outer purpose, you need a job, survive, to work, feed your family, take care of it. But what is the inner purpose of life? So it was kind of, people call it rude awakening, you can say that way. So that started my journey from pillar to post. As I said, that I went few places and I talked to my friends, and some of them were interested, some of them were not. But I continued my search, and what happened was then I found this teaching, we call it Ascended Masters teaching, through the organization called Summit Lighthouse in America. So I began to follow whatever there were things. A lot of words were new about, like Ascended Masters and other things like that, you know. But I kept my persistence going on. So as I continued on, slowly things started to unravel. Things started to come to my mind, you know, the purpose of life and how does it, why the person comes into this world and what is the purpose of life, as I said before. It also helped me as I began to assimilate, understand the teachings of the Ascended Master. It really, as they say, that I was getting the answer, I was getting peace of mind, I was getting harmony, I was getting much more within myself that I had not experienced before. What is that much more? I would ask myself. It's something that you have to feel that. You cannot put into words, you know. So I think a lot of things became to clear. What has stood with me, one thing, after all these years, is that I feel much more integrated with myself, my higher self, my God self, whatever name you call it. I feel that something in me is moving me every day. Like when there's a cosmic timetable, if I can use that word, and we call it Holy Spirit, we call it presence of Shiva, we call it presence of Vaheguru or God, what different names. So I feel that presence tells me what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go, but you know, different way. So that has been my greatest so-called take away from my journey so far.
So viewers, if you are wondering about who Ascended Masters are, I suggest you visit Chananda's Cultural Society's YouTube channel. Mr. Soni has made a couple of videos on who Ascended Masters are and what are their teachings. Miss Lois Drake, what would you say?
Well, it's a fascinating story. Everyone's story is fascinating. The masters, who are watching out for us all the time, are looking for us no matter where we are. So as a child growing up in Southern California near San Diego, I can remember, even at the age of kindergarten, riding my little bicycle, and if I heard something like a baby crying somewhere, I thought, I have to help someone. I was always looking, there's more, there's something I have to do. But what? I was raised in a traditional Christian church, and we went to Sunday school. But still, it didn't have enough. There wasn't everything that I was looking for. I didn't even know what I was looking for. So it wasn't until I was probably 32 or 33, I was going into another bookstore. I always liked to go to the bookstores. I looked at all the books that were about Hinduism and Buddhism and Christianity and everything. Well, I went to this bookstore in Berkeley and I found a book called The Human Aura by an Ascended Master and Kuthumi, and another one by an Ascended Master named Dwal Kul called Intermediate Studies for the Human Aura. I thought, these books are just for me. Great. I bought them. I didn't read them. I carried them around for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I went through all kinds of experiences. They were not the greatest experiences. Finally, at the end of 2 years, I said to myself, I said to God, actually, I can't do this, God. You do it. In other words, my life had so many things going the wrong way that I couldn't do it. I knew I had to have God help me. So that was my way of saying, not my will, but thine be done. And immediately my life changed. Everything changed. And I became to a place that was more stable, was living with my family then, and I thought, now I should read these books. I opened them up. They were from the Ascended Masters, the Summit Lighthouse. I'm not even sure I understood completely what I was reading, but I read them and I said to myself, this is everything I've ever been looking for. And I was so thrilled. So I called the number in the back, which was in California, not far from where I lived, and they said, oh, we've all just moved to another state where they have a beautiful headquarters for the Summit Lighthouse in the state of Montana, the northern United States. But we're starting a small group right here where you live. So I joined that, and when somebody showed me a picture of the spark of God in my heart, the threefold flame, it's almost like it jumped off the page, and I said, this is real. I knew it was real. So from that point on, my life totally changed. And I knew at that point that everything was different. Everything that I worked for was to bring more light into my life and send it out into the world, not only to help myself, but to help others. And yes, I faced problems in life, different things would happen, but the difference was now I could deal with it. Now I could work with the light, work with the masters, because when you study the Ascended Masters, they keep an eye on you, and they sponsor you, and they help you. So that's how I have been working with them day in and day out. It's my great honor and privilege.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, so if I go back to my childhood, I remember somewhere in the year around 2000, I suddenly started getting attracted towards the temples and the gurdwaras. I will hear the prayer in the evening, in the morning, and I used to talk to myself and say, why don't you go? Why are you here? Why are you sitting in the house? Go and see what's there. And that's how I started visiting the temples. And with that, in the year around 2012, I saw some books in my house, photos of the angels, photos of the masters, and I used to think, what is this in my house? Why my mom is bringing these kind of stuff? You know, we should not be having this. But slowly, when I started reading the books, I understood that there's a deep meaning in those books, and it really has something related to God, and there's something I should learn more about it. So in the year around 2017, I started attending the workshops, and I got a deeper understanding about the masters and the angels. So your mom was
already into teachings?
She touched the teaching. She was not very much into teachings. She touched the teaching. She was like me. So we both started together, but she was the one who used to go to the meetings, but I was not going to the meetings. I started going in 2017. So during that period of 5 to 6 years, I had gained some experience by reading and understanding about the masters, and since 2017, when I started moving in, that really changed my life, because everything I used to see before, I had a different perspective, a better perspective, a clearer thought process of how things work, how God works, why, if something had happened to me in my previous years, why that event took place, and why maybe it is my karma, or maybe it is what I was destined to be in that
You got your
situation.
answers.
Yes. So yeah, that's my story.
Okay. Okay. So you all are coming from different religious backgrounds. So how do you connect the teachings to your own religion? Do you find a connect there?
Of course, I do, but in the beginning, when it took me a few years to really know myself, know the teaching, and once it started dawning upon me that the teachings are not really a religion, it is a spirituality.
Yeah.
The common foundation is spirituality, and builded upon that is our different religions, and including my own religion called Sikhism. Well, so in Sikhism, we have we have a Gurbani, we call it, from the Guru Granth Sahib.
Yeah.
People read it, people chant it, we sing it with music. And there's one particular hymn that comes to my mind right now. It says, Tu mera pita, tu mera mata, tu mera bandhak, tu mera bhrata. What it says is, God, you are my father, you are my mother, you are my brother, you are my friend. So well, that is true, but that was really the Ascended Master teaching said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I said, well, that's very true. But beyond that, he says God is inside of you. We call it Ekonkar. Ekonkar means God is one. But I found another meaning of Ekonkar. I found that there are many meanings of this symbol, like Om or Ekonkar or any symbol, any religion. Another meaning I found of Ekonkar was that, well, I and God are one. That's another meaning. But another meaning I found that you are one with God in your vibration. 24/7. If you raise your vibration, you become one in vibration. Beyond that, what happens when you become one in vibration with God? You become God. So that was the takeaway. I said, oh my God, I was just thinking, Ekokar means God is one. Well, most of religions say the same thing. But after that, then they go this way and that, and they have their own way.
The teachings, Ascended Master's teachings, gave you a better and a deeper understanding of your own Sikhism.
Exactly
And
so. Exactly so.
what about you, Lois?
It's very similar. Every one of the true religions, and all true religions are based on love. Every one of them has an inner path.
Yeah.
There's an outer path, but there's an inner path. And I didn't realize it as a youth that I was really looking for the inner path. But when I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters, I was overwhelmed with joy, because now at last I could see the inner path of Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, all of the, Islam, all have an inner path of devotion. And that path is what unites us with God, so that we can become one with God. That's what I was looking for. And it also gave me a deeper understanding of Jesus, as well as Krishna, as well as other avatars who have come. Many we don't even know their names, but they all bow to the light of God within each of us. So that really brought it all together for me.
So when I started in the teachings, I learned about the power of Om. In the teachings of the Ascended Masters, Om has one of the highest places in the teachings. And in Hinduism, Om is also is given very high place, and that was an instant connection of that. The basis of the teachings are also some aspects of Hinduism. So it's very correlated, but the language might be different, but the meaning, the understanding of the text is same, because it is focused on the same path, that God is inside you, and you have to, as a student of the Ascended Masters, or a student of Krishna, you have to really learn and grow within yourself.
Yeah. So what I get from all this is the outer parts are many and they can be very different. Your rituals can be very different, but there is only one inner path, and that is what the Ascended Masters are telling us. That is what the Summit Lighthouse is teaching us, right? So even though it may be based in US, it has relevance all over world, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
So now I want to talk to you about how this spirituality, and particularly the one advocated by the prayers and the decrees. First of all, just Ascended Masters talk about decrees and all. So I want one of you to talk about what is the difference between a prayer and a decree.
I'll be happy to start.
Yeah, sure, please go ahead.
Please.
Well, the Ascended Masters have brought to us a scientific formulation of the power of sound, the power of the word. So the word, with a capital W, is God. I believe that we even read in the Vedas, in the beginning was Vak, was the word. It's also the opening line of the book of John in the Bible. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. So the word is light, it's God, it is energy, it is everything. And in this age of Aquarius, the Ascended Masters have released to mankind a scientific way to use that word. We call them decrees because when we say this is the law, it's like giving a decree. We are decreeing that such and such will happen. Well, now we're working with God to give a decree. We're saying, in the name of God, which is I am that I am, Om Tat Sat Om, in the name of God, I call this light into the world. In other words, I decree this light into the world. God has given me that power by placing himself, herself within my very heart. So I can use that power of the word to go out and change myself and the world. And it's really what can turn around so many of the things that we see as terrible situations on earth today.
So, but I still didn't get it. What is the difference between a decree and a prayer? In the way it is chanted, or in the way
Yes.
it is structured?
Both. All forms of prayer are very important. So of course we use which kind depending on the situation. Meditation, where we sit silently and we focus on nothing, or we focus on a certain mantra, or we focus on an image of a deity, that's also very necessary because it helps us unite our consciousness with the divine. And that would be used for that very purpose, to unite our consciousness with the divine. Or we might say a very loving prayer to the angels, or when we go to bed at night, dear God, I have not done so well on certain things, but I've done better on other things, and thank you and forgive me. We just talk, and that's also equally important. But when we really need to call the light of God into an intense situation, like war breaking out on the border of one nation or another, we can say, in the name of God, I am that I am, send forth your light, send the angels into that situation. Because we have God in our hearts, we can send the angels and the heavenly deities into any situation. So you can see the different ways to use them, and they actually combine, because the spoken prayers, the decrees, which are kind of like chants or poems that we say in rhythmic way, they are also a meditation. If you really give them from your heart, and if you think about, visualize what you're asking for, the light of forgiveness, the violet light, the light of love, the beautiful pink light, the blue of the will of God, you meditate upon those things as you say the words. So they each have a different purpose, but they all go together as well.
So, so that means when you seek something from God, or you want to thank God for something, you say a prayer. But when you want to become a co-creator with the God, then therein comes a decree.
Very
right?
good. Yes. And you know when you need that. You know? For example, you're driving in the car and someone's coming right at you and you say, Archangel Michael, help me, help me, help me. You don't say, oh, please come by if you have time.
So in our life these days, I'll talk about the various life issues now. So there's a lot of stress among people,
Yes.
especially after the pandemic. It has, I suppose it has gone back. It is not going to come back again, but we still have that fear that fear looming large over us. So in such a situation, how would decrease help?
Yes.
I would like to answer that this way. Please feel free to add on something if I missed something. The fear or the doubt, they call them, in India we call them Rahu Ketu, So there's a fear, then there's a doubt. Where there's a doubt, there is a fear, So because of what happened in 2020, 21, last 2 years actually, that is still has some way of record of that 2 years in the subconscious mind. So that really comes up from time to time because we call it solar plexus chakra. That is right below the level of the heart, subconscious level. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah.
Ascended masters, people will say, well, you can do prayer, you can do this, you can do that, you can do meditation, you can do so many things that are tools available. Has been all these years. Here enter the Ascended Masters into this play. They said, well, it's called something called progressive revelation. That's very important to remember that. God doesn't give one teaching and then say, okay, goodbye, and then he sends the avatars, then he sends his messengers. So the latest revelation has been understanding the gift of the violet flame mantras, violet flame decrees we call them. Okay. So what happens is when people give the violet flame mantras, simple mantra, I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desire. I am means God in me is capital I, capital A, capital M. So when we chant that, we bring the violet flame into our solar, through our heart chakra, goes into solar plexus chakra where the doubt and fear records are there. And what it does, it transmutes it. Well, you can say, well, why energy get transmuted? The law is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It changes form from higher form to lower form, from lower form to higher form. When it changes the form, it comes out from doubt and fear energy. They get transmuted by the influx of the violet flame energies, and they become your asset. From the liability, which is burdensome, it becomes your asset as joy and peace and harmony.
So, Lois, just chanting these will help?
Yes, just
Or
chanting.
something more you have to do?
Well, chanting is the best way. As I listen to Jaspal, I agree with what he's saying, and I'll just give you an example in my life. You know, every day we are walking around in the middle of everybody's emotions, their anger, their frustration, their fear. Many people are fearful now, and that you mentioned COVID. I noticed traveling for the first time in 3 years, it's different for me. I have to really think about, do I have to get this COVID test? Am I going to be able to make this plane? What are the requirements to get into this country? All these different things. Am I going to sit next to somebody who has COVID? You know, all these fears. And so we're walking around in everybody's fear and emotion. And how do we keep ourselves pure and clean and protected from all of that? Well, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I just feel all that fear laying on me. And I think, oh, I can't, what's going on? I don't even want to get up. And in a case like that, and for those of you who see this on YouTube, I mean, or any other media, very simple. What if you just said, I am light? Instead of feeling this all over your chakras and your energy, and you just lay there for a minute, and maybe you don't even say it, you just think about the light in your heart, the light above you that is you, and say, I am light, I am light, I am light. And we have magnificent prayers that go longer, but even if you only know that much, I am light, and instead your attention is off of that energy and it's into the light. It changes you immediately. And I find that I only need to even think it silently and it changes. But then if you say a mantra like that, or I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires, if you can remember that much, then the whole dynamic changes and everything starts to flow. Do you find that?
Yes.
So is there any instance you would like to talk about where a particular decree helped you?
Yeah, well, as we are talking about stress, so in today's life we will have a lot of contradictions with people, a lot of times we will have misunderstandings, and a lot of time we will have with our own family members where we don't want to have a dispute, but the situation is like that we want to swift through that situation peacefully, and during those situations we should enter in our heart. जिसे कहते हैं अपने मन मंदिर में जाना. We enter in our heart and we say that God help me, peace be still, peace be still, peace be still, so that we do not overreact. That's what are the major causes of these kind of arguments. And once we center in our heart, we have peace, we swift through the situation, but after the situation is over, then the thoughts start coming in, because we have a residue of that situation, that argument, and to clean that we should do some violet flame. Maybe I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires, to clean our being, to clean our aura, so that we do not have that residue be in us for a very long time. So that's what usually I do.
So what I gather is that I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires, is the most potent mantra. Even if you don't decree, if you don't say any other decrees, just say this.
Would like to say something before I say it?
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's one of the beginners. To me, it was one of the easiest two-line beginner mantra. However, you could modify this mantra many ways. Like you can say, I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desire. You can replace the word I am. My heart chakra is the chakra of violet fire. My heart chakra is the purity God desire. My solar plexus is chakra of violet fire. My solar plexus chakra is the purity God desire. And so on and so forth. So you can replace all these 7 chakras like that. Then you can look at someone in your family member. Someone like anyone. So put a name, like I put my name. Jaspal is a being of violet fire. Jaspal is the purity God desire. So so you can put the name of anyone in the family member. You can put the name of the city. Delhi is a city of violet fire. Delhi is the purity God desire. India is a nation of violet fire. India is the purity God desire. The planet is a planet of violet fire. The planet is the purity God desire. So I think you can see that it's a simple mantra. However, it's not just chanting the mantra. There's something behind it. It has to come from your heart. It has to have the visualization. When you add the visualization, that adds 90% more, and when it comes from your heart, it makes totally 100% picture. So you become, the science of the spoken word becomes so accurate with heart chakra involvement, which is called feelings, and the visualization involvement.
How
to
do
the
you
third eye.
visualize?
Very good question. You have a family member, visualize a family member. You have a situation in a city, map of India, map of planet Earth. People walking when you're doing something, watching on the television. Or you can send that energy, that any situation like earthquake happened in Turkey, Syria, you can visualize that situation and you can send violet flame. Turkey is country violet fire, Turkey is a purity God desire, Syria. Or you can see the people. And what I have noticed that, as I said earlier, who are we? We are sons and daughters of God. That was my first realization. When I realized that, tu mera pita, tu mera mata, tu mera bandhav, tu mera brata, that means I am God's self. Becoming God, I can say that. I'm becoming God because as I walk the journey. So I think that is really a mighty understanding that I got from the Ascended Master's teaching, that I'm not a human. Human means H-U, human. Human is like someone who evolved from gorilla. It's not. We are sons and daughters of God. So a lot of misunderstanding that I had.
You're
that
discounting
human
the
beings,
theory,
God man,
scientific
God woman, not human man,
So
human
you are
woman.
discounting the scientific theories.
Someday I think we will, I know Master dream is that someday people will know that in the coming golden age, which is Satyug, people will know who they really are. And this is the first step. This mantra is the first
So we are
step.
not monkeys. We not come from monkeys.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And now I think science is just starting to catch up with religion. Now we're starting to find that there might actually be in physics a particle that is love.
Yeah.
Surprise!
So, sir, you talked about visualization. So, I want to come to that question. Visualization and its related and perhaps more important part, manifestation. A lot of spiritualists and spiritual organization, they talk about manifestation, that one can manifest anything one wants in life. So, what do Ascended Masters say about it? Is it possible?
Yes, the Ascended Masters say that what you can visualize, you can manifest. And of course, this is a topic that is very exciting, and you could talk about it for quite a long time. There's a wonderful book by Saint Germain called Saint Germain on Alchemy that teaches the steps, how to do it step by step. But let's just touch on the basics. Of course, we want to be sure that our desire is God's desire, because you can bring about into your life things that you want, and you can have them, and they will be provided to you following these scientific steps. But is it going to get you closer to God? Is it going to help you reach the goal of becoming one with God and helping yourself and the rest of life on planet Earth? So that's the first step. Saint Germain teaches that the more detailed you can be in your visualization, the better will be the result. So let's say, for example, you see that there is an earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and so you can look at a map, you can visualize that area, you can visualize a fire, then turn that fire violet, just as if it's a flaming fire. You can fill it with the love of your heart. You can just picture it over that point on the map. You can even hold your hands over that point on the map and send the angels and the violet fire there to comfort people and to help them. And we will someday know, when we are in other octaves and other dimensions, we will learn who was helped by that. But I'll give you a brief personal example of these steps of alchemy. I was taking a class on this from Summit Lighthouse, and we were studying that book and the steps of precipitation, you can call, when you materialize something. And there are different ways you can actually materialize something out of God without any human interaction. But I am not at that level of mastery. However, I had an idea that I would really like to have a ring that would be a crystal of yellow topaz, so that it would help focus God's illumination in me and would help me with my writing and help me to spread the teachings. So I got my colored pencils and I got a piece of paper and I drew exactly the yellow topaz ring, the gold band and little decorations on the side. And I put it on my altar and I said, if it's your will, God, I pray for this ring, and I fill it with the violet fire and I fill it with your love. About 3 days later, my husband came to this conference where I was, and he gave me this ring, which is a yellow topaz with the same exact decorations on the side. And I don't have the picture with me that I drew, but it was quite amazing to me how it worked so quickly like that.
Is it that quick?
It was for me, but you know, I also really believe in making treasure maps. So if you're only seeing this for the first time, all you need to do is get some pictures off the internet. I make a treasure map for my life. For example, there was one time, this was 20 years ago, I made a treasure map and I wanted to be married. So I found a picture of a bride. You couldn't see her face, you could only see the wedding dress. And I wanted to I really love the lily of the valley flower. It smells so good. It's the flower of Mother Mary. I wanted some of that. I put that in the picture. I wanted to have enough money. I put that in the picture. I wanted to have a new computer. I put a picture of that on my treasure map. And I had a picture of my Mighty I Am presence, and I said on there, in the name I am that I am, Lord, I do give thee thanks for all these things I had in my treasure map. Okay. Well, the first thing came about 1 day later. Somebody gave me a bottle of Lily of the Valley perfume. The next day, the company where I worked, well, maybe it was a week later, the company where I worked, they put a new computer in my office. That was really their computer, but that was fine. Then about, I don't know, several months after that, I met the person who would become my husband. And that took about a year. And some things didn't actually come, I had enough money, but some things were not precisely what I had put, perhaps because my karma was preventing me from manifesting that part, or perhaps God had a better plan for me that would help my life better. But in general, it was so precise, it was amazing. So visualization.
Yeah.
Any experience you would like to talk about?
Yeah. I made several treasure maps, and I used to cut out, like, if I want to buy a car, I want to have a car, and which car I want to have, I will cut out a picture. So for the first year, I put a very expensive car, very expensive, and I thought, well, it's in the treasure map, so it's gonna come anyways. But it didn't happen, and I thought, why it did not happen? Why? And then I realized that you, as a asking for something, you should have, me as a person should have ability to sustain that wealth. If I am not ready for that wealth, for that car, God will not give me, because that is not the law. The law is that you should also be able to handle the gift of God. So the second thing is that a lot of people who make treasure maps, they make a treasure map, they fold it or paste it, and then they forget about it. We have to pray to the treasure map daily. We have to look at the treasure map so that what we see, we manifest. So I used to look at my treasure map every day.
But one thing, sorry for interjecting, something which you don't have, something which you so want badly. How can you have a conviction, like you said, conviction that you already have it and thanking God for it?
Yes, that it's already there. That's the thing. You have to realize that it's already prepared for you and be grateful even before it comes into the physical. So I think that is part of the key.
Yeah. So after that, the second year, I put a car which I could really afford. But I was not sure when I'm going to get it, because I had confusion in my mind. Like, will I be able to pay the EMIs? Okay. And will I be able to sustain that car for a long time? What happens if I'm not able to do it? So I put that car in the treasure map. I put what I needed. Some things happened in the same year. I got the car, what I wanted, the color I wanted. Some things did not happen, and then I did not took those things to the next year, because if we ask something to God and it is not given, it's not like we should not keep asking the same thing for a very long time. Sometimes we can ask after 2 or 3 years again, but keep on asking, because we are not ready for it. If we didn't get it the first year, we may not be ready for it. Anything you want to answer on that one?
Thank you, Jay. I think what Jay has said is beautifully. I think I will say, add on to what he said, we are not ready for it because it's not the will of God yet. So will of God is a key factor that determines that we are ready, because when God thinks we are ready, we might think we are ready. But the will of God is same as in being in one accord with the will of God. In Punjabi we call it Pana. Pana, tera Pana meetha lage, we say like that. So that Pane, which will of God comes, when God wants you to have it, it's like giving a child something he wants so bad. And he knows that he wants it. Mommy, I want it. Daddy, I want it. But mommy and daddy think, no, you're not ready for it. Same thing. So you can say, because they understand it better than the child does. So it's that kind of chemistry that works between God and you when you make a treasure map.
So something which is good for you, you will get. Something which is not good for you will not get.
At that time.
Yeah, maybe not suitable for you at that particular moment.
So I hope viewers, you have understood. You can do manifestation. You can manifest anything you want. But there are two things there. One thing is that you have to have a strong conviction for it, and you have to ask for it with the total devotion. And secondly, if you don't get it, don't get angry with God.
That's right. You know, there's one other part to this that I think is important. Manifesting items and receiving the things on our treasure maps, they are tools. They are not the most important goal.
Yeah.
So you will find that sometimes people can be fooled by teachers who are able to pull out of thin air something, some powder or some magical thing, or even people who have so much money, you know, and they attract more to them. However, because it is a science, people can do that. Nevertheless, we have to remember that our goal is union with God. So we want those things that will help us to achieve our union with God.
Yeah.
One more little footnote to that, what Lois said. Sometimes these kind of things can be done, precipitating everything in your life. You know, it could be done, we call them riddhi siddhis in India. Siddhis, this person has siddhis, he has a mastery of that. Well, so that is, some people relate that to spirituality. It's ascended master teachings are that anyone can have mastery and materialization of things take from the thin air. The trap, if I use the word trap, is that could be a temptation to keep us away from the spirituality. People get so much involved in that, I want this, I want that, I want that. What happens? It becomes a materialistic thing and spirituality goes out of the window. So that's how to be careful.
Like Yoganand Paramahansa has said in his book, no, don't get attracted to the drama of it. Keep away from the drama of materializing
Keep
things.
balanced.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we come to the next question of life. Sometimes there are situations in our life wherein we are talking to somebody and we know that the person sitting in front of you is telling a lie. How do we tell that? How do we communicate that?
How can we tell
Because-
if someone is lying to us?
No,
Is
that we know inside that
Okay,
this
we know
person is
that.
lying. But how do you put an end to that lie? Because if you say pointedly that this is a lie you are telling, that will lead to arguments and spoiling of relations. So what do ascended masters say about it?
You know, when we stand for truth, when we are embodying the Word of God, when we are becoming more and more of the higher self, we attract to us difficult situations because the darkness comes to the light in order to be changed, in order to be judged, in order to say, no more, thus far and no farther. So we, at that moment, let's say it's a family situation or some situation with your boss or something, we pray in our hearts, even if it has to be silently at that time, mighty I am presence, higher self, guide me now. And we come immediately with the words. So we don't have to be fearful of that situation. Sometimes the words actually surprise us. You know, it might be something like, I'm sorry, but I can't do exactly what you're saying. Or even a very diplomatic way, well, I hear you, but let's try another way. You know, so that it's not a direct confrontation, but sometimes you might find yourself in a direct confrontation. And then we have to be at peace and be guided by our higher self. I've had that happen in my life where someone accused me of, why do you believe these things that you believe? And was kind of making fun of me. And I had to just hold my peace and go my way. And it was very difficult. But that is what the light calls us to do.
How do you connect with your higher consciousness?
You simply ask. You simply ask your higher consciousness to be there. It's not so tricky. And sometimes we don't know, is that really my higher mind, or is that my mother talking to me? You know, but if we ask and we try to get in the habit of asking, then we can rely upon the fact that, listen, I'm asking, okay, that's, and and you know what? Sometimes it's also trial and error. You take a step and, oh, that didn't work. That must not have been my higher mind. But then the next time, now things are really going smoothly. So we ask, and then we be brave, and we have confidence and trust in what we're trying.
So when we ask, then after asking, we sit quiet for some time.
If we can, yes, it's always nice to ask and then listen. But I find life is very fast, and the answers come very fast. If we're, I might ask, and then suddenly there it is, right there, before you can even take your next breath. And so it can be very quick. But it's always good to, especially if you have a decision to make and you are asking your higher self, and you take a little walk and you just try to be quiet and listen to whatever still voice.
Okay, that brings me to the next question, and perhaps the last question of today's discussion. In Hinduism, we pay a lot of attention to the meditation part of God devotion. But Ascended Masters talk about science of spoken word. They are very particular about the sound working. So how do you compare the two? And if I may say so, which one is the better of the two?
Well, I would not say one is the better of the two. The Ascended Masters do agree with Hinduism and mystical Christianity and all the religions. They all have a form of meditation, and the Ascended Masters highly endorse and recommend that everybody should be meditating every day. Perhaps not as long because of how busy our lives are, but they all ask for meditation. And it's unfortunate when we get so busy that we don't take the time. Meditation helps with the decrees and with the spoken word. So as we then meditate, we connect more with our God self. And then when we're using the spoken word, it comes over. We have more power in the spoken word. Likewise, as we're giving the spoken word and we're meditating at the same time, it becomes a very high meditation.
But sir, someone who cannot meditate, there are people who tell us that I cannot concentrate for long, I cannot keep still for long, thoughts keep coming to me, I cannot meditate. So for those people, for those among us, will decrease suffice?
I will answer it this way. First of all, I had the same problem, by the way. So when I joined the Summit Lighthouse, I learned that chanting of Om is very, as Jay said, chanting of Om is the highest meditation. I said, well, highest meditation? I do not get it. What is highest meditation? And there are many meditation tools. This is one of the tools that we have, chanting of the Om. Well, when you write the word Om, O-M, well, it's not very clear what is the meaning behind it. But when you write it as A-U-M, capital A, capital U, capital M.
That's the Bij Mantra of Crown Chakra?
That is the Bij Mantra of Crown Chakra, but it's more than that. It's more than that is this. A stands for Alpha energy of the Spirit. Alpha energy of the Spirit of the universe and the cosmos, and bigger than that. So that is all the energy of the Ascended Masters, cosmic beings, sons and daughters of God, prophets, unascended master put together is in one capsule is A, capital A. You got it? M is the capital M, stand for likewise the universe, the energy of the universal energy, cosmic energy, and bigger than that of Ma, mother, God as mother, God as father Alpha, God as mother M, A-M. Well, A-M, okay, clear. What is U for? U is heart chakra. U means you, me, everyone is you. When you have this understanding of A-U-M, you give your meditation chanting simply. But you see, the word is okay, but when you know the meaning of it, you are filling that word like a cup with your heart light of love, and that becomes meditation, becomes so easy. I went through that process for many years. But when I found the meaning of that, I said, thank you, God. Now I know that Om is why it has the highest vibration. That is the reason why. Can I answer the question that another part of footnote what Lois added? The science of the spoken word is why it is the spoken word. It doesn't say science of the word or science of the meditated word or science of the silent word. It says science of the spoken word. This is something new that made me so happy when I found out that we have something called a threefold flame in our heart, right here. It has 3 plumes, and then the bottom is a white plume, like a ball, and it holds it like that. Well, 3 plumes as related to your question is this, the way Master explained. Yellow plume is the prayer, got it?
Okay.
Pink plume is meditation.
Okay.
Blue plume is the spoken word. And what is the white is the mother holding the threefold flame. So that is really, when you do meditation, you are using only 1 plume. When you are doing prayer, you are using only 1 plume. When you are using the decrease, you are using 1 plume. But when you are doing the science of spoken word with understanding, actually what's going on is you are completing all the 3 plumes, and your word becomes word of your God through your mouth. And that as we've been talking, as question was visualization becomes precipitation. That's how could be the will of God. God, I want a car, this kind of car. Then you have a treasure map. Then you put your decrees. You look at it. You look at it. We have quite a few decrees on violet flame and different colors. We'll talk about it some other time. So they become our tools to experiment. To say, well, so God sent us to the earth in this embodiment because He wanted us to become like Brahma as a creator, Vishnu like as a preserver, and Shiva, Mahesh like a destroyer of negative karma, negativity. And white plume is the divine mother in the basal spine chakra. So that's a full package with visualization. With visualization, we become like you understand now you have to go and practice it.
Yeah. So that means that one thing is that threefold flame is there in each human being in the secret chakra of heart.
Secret chamber of the heart.
Secret chamber of heart, right? And secondly, we have to be very careful with our words.
Correct.
Because when said with that much of emotion, that much of intensity, they do come true. So we have to be guarded, viewers, against saying any kind of negative words as well. That means, so manifest by all means, but keep yourself away from uttering any negative words for yourself or for anyone.
In our teaching, they say that the most karma you make is from your words. So we have to be very
Because
careful.
we often talk without meaning, maybe. We just utter and we don't realize what we are saying.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So with this we come to an end of this discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you Jay, thank you Lois, thank you Jaspal sir
Thank you.
for enlightening us with your words, and hopefully we'll have another discussion on some more teachings someday soon.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.